Hello Reborn family, my name is Karen and this is Making Reborn Dolls with Karen. I've got Aspen awake on the table. Now she has not, her head started caving in. This is what happens when you don't stuff the head but you bake them anyway. I forgot to stuff her head. So it could cave in even more and make a fissure inside of her head, but so far so good, she doesn't have one. So we're going to stuff her right now. I checked on Leaf and he's out for delivery today, so I thought I'd get a little jump ahead since I've already baked my Aspen, and I would just crease her. And then when Leaf gets here, I can go ahead and start sealing him. But my Aspens can be already creased and baked by then. And I won't have to be, it's going to be hectic doing 3 dolls at once. But I want to do them at the same time so they'll have the same kind of coloring. Believe it or not, just a little skip in time and your dolls will have a different coloring. And it has to do with your painting actual techniques that you're using at the moment, and also how much paint's in your brushes and how much paint's in your jars and all that stuff. So it's not as cut and straight as you might want to think it is painting. You don't get the same every time you paint. But it's closer if you're doing them together. I'm going to have to put a good bit in her head, at least for one bake, so it'll retain its shape again. It will reform its shape. So, yeah. Well, I just got some kind of a message. I'll see what it is. Maybe it's, oh, your order was delivered. I don't know. Sometimes I don't get a message that something is actually delivered. I just get a message that it's out for delivery. And Leaf is out for delivery, as is one other doll I ordered. So there, now see, she's got more of a normal shape. And when she bakes, she'll retain this shape now. She needs a little more on this side just so she'll, puff back out. I'm just going to go ahead and stuff her a little more than I normally would. And once she puffs back out, I can take some of it out of her head. But we need her to puff back out. There we go. Now she'll have a nice round head. Look at that. Okay. I'm going to see what that was. It might just be my bank balance. I get that every day, my bank balance. Oh my goodness. There's a few dolls I want to buy. I've been looking up and down on eBay for doll kits, and I found a few I want, but I just don't know if I have enough money to get them. I sold some of my dolls. I guess people are getting income tax returns. I don't know. I'm gonna start creasing while we're talking. Actually, these are not all this Aspen's legs. There's slightly a difference in color. I think I showed it to you when I first took them out. This arm goes to the other Aspen, but it doesn't matter. As soon as she comes out of the oven, she needed one more bake. As soon as she comes out of the oven, I'm going to crease her as well. So it doesn't matter that I have the wrong limb. I'm going to do it to all the limbs. So just in like another minute or two, she'll be out of the oven probably. But hoo-wee, I'm out of breath. I did some cleaning this morning and I'm sort of tuckered out. I do understand how to crease Caucasian babies. I just didn't know how dark to crease an ethnic baby. And I creased Zuri too dark. And I regretted it, but what can you do? You just keep going. It's like I didn't know how dark the paint would be on her, and I thought, well, what if it doesn't show? Maybe it needs to be darker than this. So of course, that's what I did. So, but it's a learning experience. Every time we make a doll, it's a learning experience. And So I'm going to sort of make this into a mini tutorial. It's 3 dolls, I know that, which is going to be a little bit hectic for a tutorial, but it will give enough chance for everybody to see what I'm doing. I am now creasing my doll. And creasing is simply just going over the crevices in the doll. See, like between her fingers and all these little creases on her fingers and stuff, and on her wrist and arm and everywhere. You just pick the ones that you like. If you don't like one, don't enhance it. Creasing enhances, and it makes it show more. And if it's one you dislike, well, you don't want it to show more, right? So don't crease that one if you don't like it. Not creasing will make it less visible when you're reborning. But the purpose of creasing is to make it look like it's a real baby instead of a plastic molded, well, they're not plastic, but you know what I mean. Just a molded hunk of vinyl. See, like when you put your fingers together, you see lines there between your fingers. Well, we need to see that on her. See, here's the difference. Creased and uncreased. Can you see it? This one looks a little more real than this one. Now, she's not painted yet, but when she gets painted, these uncreased lines between her fingers would become less and less visible. It looks like one whole piece instead of individual fingers. We want the individual look of individual fingers that are just touching each other. Everything we do to our doll is kind of an illusion. We can't make it be individual fingers, but I bet you we can make it look like it. Now, these little creases on your finger where your knuckles and stuff are, she's got them on her too. And if we want them to show, we have to crease them as well. I think they look cute. If you don't like them, don't enhance them. Here's a finished hand with enhanced creases on the fingers. The hand is creased, and they show better. It shows better. Now, those fingers are separate anyway. They're spread out. So there was no need to crease in between. Well, you couldn't crease in between them. But on dolls where the fingers are touching, that's the whole purpose of creasing in between the fingers, is to make them appear, just appear to be separate fingers. Because we actually can't make them be separate. I guess you could take a knife and cut them apart, but that's not a good idea. I actually saw a lady do that with a kit. But what I noticed was one time, okay, this is weird. One time I wanted to make this alternative baby, and I wanted it to be kind of like a horror doll. And I had a bunch of spare limbs, okay, with open. Some of them had open hands like this. Some of them had closed hands like this. But I was going to use just the hands, and I was going to make it look like hands were grabbing the baby's face all around the edges. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. But I cut out the hands, and I wanted to make them more flat at the bottom so they'd lay against the head better. And it would just look like hands were grabbing the baby's face all around the edges. And so I cut this bottom part, I cut this part where you can actually, I don't know how to explain it. I cut it where when this was laying against the baby's head like this, it would be more flat, and it would lay there better. Well, when I cut it open, I noticed that the fingers aren't that solid. If you tried to cut them apart, and I saw a lady doing that, you risk cutting them open where you can see the inside of the hand instead of the edge of the finger. And what a horror would that be if you mess your baby up that bad, you know? So that's not something I recommend that you do, trying to cut the fingers apart. I've also seen people cutting open sleeping eye dolls' eyes. One lady cut the sockets and made it look like an opened eye doll, and she did a fabulous job at it. I don't know if she used any vinyl putty or what. If you want to know what vinyl putty is, it's just that. It's almost like soft, unhardened vinyl. And you can take a mistake on your doll and actually fix it with some vinyl putty. Sometimes. You can't always fix it. Some things are too big, too deep, too much to try to fix. But some things can be fixed. Like I had Oh, what happened to that doll where I had to put vinyl putty in? I can't even remember. I can't remember what was wrong with that doll, why I had to put vinyl putty on it. Oh, that's just embarrassing. But I had a something on a doll, and I put some vinyl putty on it. Oh, I know. I had gotten a secondhand Reborn. I call it that because I got it at a, well, one of them I got at a secondhand store. Somebody had just donated it. It meant absolutely nothing to them. It was probably a relative that died or something and had a doll, and they just did, oh, let's just donate that stupid thing, you know. And I got it. It was a rare kit as well. It was Presley, and I reborned them. And then I got another one. I donate to this nursing home, and I went in there and I asked them, did they have any dolls that might need, you know, already in their possession that might need repair? And she said, yeah, we do. And so I brought two home to fix them. But I saw Presley, the, I think it was Presley Awake. There's Presley Awake and Presley Sleeping. And one of them I got at a secondhand store, and the other one I got from a nursing home. I gave them $3 in trade for Presley. And those were not $3 I was planning on donating either. But I just wanted him that bad. But anyway, when I got him, whoever had made him had drilled his nose out very, very horribly with a drill to open up the nose, which I do not recommend that either. It's ugly, and it makes a hole into the head, which you don't want a hole going into the head. And anyway, so I felt compelled to fix the hole. So I said, I've never tried this vinyl putty. I bought it, and it's up here, and I'm not using it. So I'm smudging these creases because they're extremely superficial. And if by smudging, it sort of presses some of that color down into the vinyl, or into the sealer rather, that's on the doll. I sealed these dolls in the previous video. So now I'm creasing. And when you have very, very superficial creases, you just need to rub them, because the rubbing will press down that color. Now I have no idea if it's air dry, if that will work. I know I've seen air dry artists rubbing their creases, but I think it was just to get them lighter. But if I rub my creases and they're superficial creases, they seem to stay better, because I think it just grinds some of that color right down into that vinyl, or into the sealer rather, that's on the doll. I seal my dolls at the beginning because I want the extra benefits that sealer can give you when you're painting, which one is it will allow you to write on the doll like I'm doing right now. And I'm using a pencil to crease because pencils are cleaner. They're more precise and on target. All you have to do is have a sharp point. Can you imagine taking a brush and trying to use liquidy, runny paint and paint every one of these creases? For one thing, you're gonna have some bleed over where it goes off the crease. And another thing, the paint can actually run. And another thing, it's not incredibly dark. You can't use really dark paint on your dolls because it just makes them muddy and dirty looking. So it's better to do it in a cleaner way. And my solution was, and a lot of people do this, but also a lot of people don't do this. My solution was to crease with a pencil. I saw other artists doing it in the past on their channels, and I wondered, will that work for me? Because, you know, we all don't paint the same. Many people paint differently from me. I do a lot of things different than other people do. For one thing, my mother taught me not to follow the crowd, you know. Don't be a follower, be a leader. Go out on your own and do what you're supposed to do, and don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Okay, I learned that. So anyway, the second reason is I had to be self-taught, because back when I started, which was many years ago, people were not sharing their information so much. There was no community to say, okay, I'm going to show you how to do it. What they showed was teeny little bits, and you just had to try to glean out some little tidbit from each video. I don't have that kind of time or patience to do all that. So I just went on and decided I would teach myself. I would just figure it out. And that's what I did. I figured out something that worked for me. Now a lot of people are flocking toward every fad that comes along. And I say, okay, that is a way to paint. Yes, it is, and you can do it. But I'm here to show you, you do not have to do those complicated methods that people are coming out with now. They are so complicated and so ridiculous, in my opinion, that I'm trying to show you there is a better way. There is a way. I'm not going to say it's actually better. It's just different. I'm going to show you a way. Follow this series with my little babies. It might be long because I got 3 of them. But if you follow this series, I'm going to show you a way that you can make a nice baby every single time just by following a few simple steps. Just stick to the rules and you can do it. Literally anybody can do it. It's not that difficult, but it's not cheap. I can tell you that. Just buying kits is kind of expensive. So if you are looking to start this hobby, get ready to spend some money, especially for your initial investment. It's going to be kind of steep because you have to get all the things you need. And I have made a video that will tell you, I show some of the products, but it will tell you what to get, what not to get, what you really need, what you really don't need. And a lot of these doll companies want to sell you more and more and more and more and more things. So they're going to make it look like you really have to have those things, when in reality, you do not. So stick with me, and I'm going to show you the cheapest, easiest way to break into Reborn artistry. And I'm going to tell you where to get all your items so that you can save the most money. And I may tie that video to this series because I don't want to remake it. It's long and it's complicated and it takes a lot of time. And I already have it. Why make it over, you know? And so I may tie it to this series, or I may just tell you as I'm going along. I'll probably do both, actually, because I'm an explainer. I like to explain things. I know that probably some of my followers are getting tired of hearing me say the same things, but I'm always saying, what if a person's brand new and this is the first video they've watched? They don't know what I'm talking about. I have to tell them. And sometimes I forget that some of the new people don't already know some facts. And people will go, you didn't explain that good enough. I don't understand. I go, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. New people are watching, you know. And but I'm going to tell you that making Reborn dolls is not as hard. It's not as hard as you think, but it may be a little harder than it appears on camera. Let's put it that way. I can make it look super simple, but you're going to go, okay, why was it so simple for her? And I seem to have hit this wall, so to speak. Well, it's not really that cut and dry. Literally making dolls is a process. You develop your process and then you just follow it every time you make a doll. Now, if you're going to make a different ethnicity or something, you might have to tweak it because, well, different paints and different techniques may be needed for different ethnicities. But if you're making all the same ethnicity doll, all you need is your process. I make Caucasian dolls mainly because that's what I started out making and what I learned to make, and it's easy for me. And it literally is just a few steps. This is probably, you could call this step 2. Step 1 was sealing. Sealing is a super important step. If you haven't seen the video tied to this one about sealing, I sealed 2 Aspen kits together. And you need to watch it because I give pointers in there on how to mix the sealer. Oh, people constantly are contacting me. Some of it's business related and some of it's not. This is a business related one. Offer expires soon because you were interested. You know, every time you look at an item, they want to send you an offer. You might have just glanced at it and you don't really want to buy it. Yeah, I don't want that kit. Okay. I was looking at kits earlier, and people, like I said, they have it set where if you look at their item, they're going to send you an offer. Okay, he's good. And it's a nuisance to get dings and blings all day long because you looked on their channel or something. But I guess that's the way you sell, huh? And if I was interested, I'd be going, why didn't they send me an offer? They always send an offer. So I should quit complaining, I guess. But anyway, back to making reborn dolls. It really is simply just following some steps. And step one was sealing the dolls. For this particular crease, and you have to have a very sharp point because you want to be able to get your pencil down in the crease. If you're not getting down in the crease, you're actually marking on the toe instead of down in the crease between the toes. And you don't want that. It looks sloppy and dirty. We want the cleanest, crispest creases we can get. Sharp point is necessary for this. And you want to pick your color carefully. I didn't know what color I wanted to crease with because the whole world almost is creasing with purple. And you need to wrap your head around the idea that just because a lot of people do it doesn't make it a good idea. I didn't like purple. It looks fake. And it is dark, however. When you put purple on your doll, you're making a shadowy, dark something on your doll. And creases should look, to me, more like a skin color. So I picked this color. This is a brownish red. It's closer to a skin tone than purple. For heaven's sakes, it's much, much closer. What I had done when I wanted to get pencils is I didn't know what colors I was going to want. I wanted some kind of a blue color to vein with, and I wanted some kind of a color to crease with, and I just bought a bunch of colors of pencils. I thought I was going to want a purple pencil to crease with. So I bought a bunch of pencils in the purple range. Then I wanted to make capillaries, which are supposed to be red. So I bought a bunch of pencils in the red range, and this was one of them. And then I wanted some kind of a blue for veins, so I got a bunch of blue pencils. And then I found I couldn't use them, most of them. They were the wrong color, or they were just too dark or too light. And once I zeroed in on the colors I did like, I gave all the rest of the pencils away to other artists who probably would use them. You know, some people are not picky about the color they're going to crease with, and they just crease with, you know, thanks for the free pencils, you know. And so I did. I gave away a lot of stuff. I usually do that. If I don't want the items, I'll find a way to give them away to other artists. I don't want anything wasted. I'm not a wasteful person. And the only thing I asked of them was to please, if you can't use these items, pass them on to another artist. I had a contest, and my first contest was all you had to do was say, I'm a new artist. Can I be in the contest? And I would enter you into the contest. And then I made up this box, and it had paints, and it was to help new artists, you know. And it had paints and pencils and paintbrushes and all kinds of things that people would need to reborn with in the box. And I drew a name out, and that person got the box. And all I asked of them was, please, if I put anything in the box that you don't want to use or you can't use because you're not heat set, you're air dry instead, then please pass them on to another artist for free because you got them for free. Just make sure they don't get wasted. And everybody that was entered in the contest, I asked them individually, and they all said they would do it. So yay, that was great. So I don't mind sharing and helping people. I just don't want to feel like, okay, there was a situation. And since the person has now been blocked, and I don't even think she can watch my videos anymore, I'm going to tell you what she did. I had a contest. I've had several contests. For a while, I was doing it every single month. This is my January. This is my February, you know. And a lot of the contests were super, super, super easy to enter. You didn't really have to do anything but just say, I want to be in the contest. Or you might have to watch some videos or something, or comment on a video or something like that. Something super simple like that. And so I had been making up these boxes with items that I already had. I usually put a kid in there and in a body, or sometimes not a body, but still, I'd put a kid in there, and I'd put clothes and bows and socks and just lots and lots and lots of really nice stuff that people could use because they're new starting out, and it's a struggle to get started. So I was doing it really for that, but I just didn't know how to give it away without having some kind of way to. I wanted to make sure that the person that was going to get it actually wanted to get it, because some people, they just don't want to. I don't know why. Anyway, so I was having these contests like every month. So I was about to run out of things to put in a box, and Bountiful Baby had started having these um, beginner kits. And I am not a fan of beginner kits because there's a lot of stuff in there you won't use. But I wanted that beginner kit. They were on sale, and it had a kit in it and a body. And if the doll took eyes, the eyes were in it too. There was hair. There was a lot of good stuff in there that you could use to reborn a doll. And some stuff seemed like a waste. Like you could get toothpicks, for example, at Walmart for much, much cheaper. You know that Bountiful Baby is going to charge for them toothpicks. They're not in there for free. But they were having a site-wide sale for 40% off, so you could get anything on their site for 40% off. So their highly expensive kit was now almost half price. And I thought, what a good time to get it if I can find a kit that I want. I wanted to get a kit and the beginner kit together because it was such a good buy. And so I did. And I took the kit for me. But I gave the beginner kit as a prize in my contest. Highly expensive for something you're going to give away, I think. Even at the sale price, it was a very, very, very nice gift, especially since the beginner kits were priced regular price at $1.99. So, okay, expensive gift. But, on this contest, I was asking a little more of my viewers. I was asking, have a public profile. I was asking, because I want to make sure you are a subscriber of mine. And if I can't see you on my list, I can't verify that you are. Try to get some people to get people to subscribe to my channel. Find family and friends or somebody that will subscribe to my channel. I wanted more subscribers. It wasn't even by far my most complicated contest. But I had this person who entered, and she did all the required things, and she got entered into the contest. And then it came time to draw the names, and I drew her name. So I send off the box to her. Okay? Now I don't know what y'all think. Yes, it is true. Once you get the items, they are actually yours. And you can eat them if you want to. Seriously, you can do that. But nobody would. I'm just using that as an example that you can do something ridiculous with your items. And nobody's really there to stop you from doing it. I only ever asked, if you can't use the items, would you please pass them on to another artist for free? Because you got them for free. So, okay, she said, yes, I will. I know somebody. Okay, great. I asked every person that was entered in the contest individually. And she said, yes, she would. So, okay. Excuse me, but my coffee's getting super cold. And if I don't drink it, it's going to be iced coffee. So, okay, so everything's great. She's going to pass it on if she wins. If she can't use it, that's all I want. So, okay, I have the drawing. I draw her name. I send her the box. She acts like she's super, super excited to get it. Oh, I can't believe I won. Oh, it's so great. I need this stuff so, just normal. So then everything's fine. I'm just clicking along, scrolling through Facebook. And she has made this she's made tons of posts, actually. She's actually selling all of the items that was in that highly expensive prize I gave her. But she was selling them for paltry little amounts of money. I was going, are you kidding me? You won that and promised to pass it on for free if you couldn't use it, and you're going to sell it? Like there was In the kit was a set of the eight, I think it was eight, it might have been 10 jars of paint that they recommend for reborning a doll. If you just look that one item up by itself, it's like $35. She was selling it for $2. I couldn't believe it. $2? It meant so little to you that you're gonna go on Facebook and post it for $2. Then I bought 3 extra jars of paint that were not included in that because they're paints that I use in my videos. And I thought, well, okay, if a person's going to follow me, they're going to need those 3 paints. So I bought them separately at like $12 a jar, you know. Highly expensive. This was highly expensive gift. Then she had a kit in there. It wasn't the one that came with it, but it was one of equal value. And she had hair and needles, and I mean, it was a lot of stuff. So I felt like, number one, she lied. She said she would pass it on for free if she wasn't going to use it. But she's not doing that. She's selling it. Number two, how can you enter a contest, win the prize, and it means so little to you that you just sell it? It just, oh, I don't know. I don't know, y'all. Maybe I'm being petty, but it just rubbed me so bad the wrong way. So I said something to her. I said, really? Are you really going to sell it because that was your prize? Oh, I couldn't find anybody to take it. But you told me you knew somebody. So did you lie? She didn't answer. So I said something else to her. I'm really upset about this or something. And instead of saying, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you, I'll take them down and keep them, or I'll do what I promised and pass them on. She didn't say anything like that. She didn't address the issue at all. Instead, she started talking about, oh, I have this many dolls, and I have this one I got from this place, and this one I got from that place, and they mean the world to me. I'd never sell them. Oh, man, I just don't know. It just rubbed me so bad. And then she started talking about how her husband left her and high and dry, and she needed the money so bad. Well, if you need the money so bad, why are you selling them for such cheap prices? I sent her a bunch of sealer too that was valuable. She just piled it up and took a picture of it and said $2, you know, $2 for all that sealer. Sealer's expensive. It's highly expensive. And I don't know. And I go, if you needed the money so bad, why are you selling them so cheap? So cheap. Well, I don't know what they're worth. Okay, I get that. You can look it up. But anyway, okay. But you did say you would pass it on for free. And she started talking about, I'm going to build a nursery for my dolls because, you know, they need a room. And, okay, you don't have any money. You're saying you don't have any money. And you can't pay your bills, and so you need to sell the items I sent you. But you have like 30 or 40 dolls, and you're not selling any of them. But you're going to build them a nursery? And she just sent message after message after message after message after message, just constantly. And that one day, I bet I got 70 messages from her. It was driving me nuts. I couldn't stand it anymore. It was almost like she was gloating that I got plenty space in my house now that my husband's gone. I'll have a nursery for my babies in no time. Like that. Just constantly and it was so inappropriate, I thought. It was almost like she was gloating. Yeah, I'm selling that junk you sent me, but I'm going to build a nursery for my dolls. And I wouldn't part with a single doll. I just thought it was arrogant and just inappropriate. And then she wouldn't stop. She would not stop messaging me. And so I finally blocked her because I couldn't stand it anymore. In one day, you're getting 70 plus messages from one person. It was just insane. And they were voice messages. I didn't even know you could do that on Facebook. She was messaging me on my Facebook Messenger, and she was leaving a voice, these crazy sounding voice messages. It was making me insane. I had to block her. And needless to say, she unsubscribed to my channel after I blocked her, which I don't blame her. I would too. But I mean, you just don't do that to people. I don't think you should. Maybe I'm being petty. Like I said, the stuff was hers, and she could do whatever she wanted to with it. I can't control that. I get that. But she did say that she would pass it on, but she lied about it. And she told me that before she won, because I wanted to make sure that everybody that was actually a potential winner was going to do that, you know. Because while I do want to help people get started as artists, I don't want to give them highly expensive items they're going to sell for a paltry amount. It's an insult. It's like slapping you in the face. Oh, you gave me a prize, let me slap you in the face now. It was so insulting. You know, I didn't pay $199, but that's the value of that prize she got. I actually paid $119, which was much, much less, but still, I just don't know how to describe how I felt. I just felt so hurt and let down and upset. And then she wouldn't address the issue at all. She just wanted to just change the subject over to stuff about her. I don't know. Am I being petty? You can tell me if I'm being petty. I don't think I am. But anyway, I blocked her. So I don't have to be subjected to that on Facebook anymore, because she can't send me any more messages. So, problem solved. So, the whole reason I was saying it is, if a person's invading your head like that, they're occupying a space that they shouldn't have in your brain. Rent free. They say they're living rent free in your head. And it almost makes you feel crazy after a while. You're just going, I just can't get over it. I just can't put it behind me. I just can't, because she just won't stop messaging me. You know, might get over it if they would stop messaging you about it, but she wouldn't stop. And so I said, you know, anything that's going to invade my peace and my sanity that much, I just need to take it out of my life, because this is my fun time, my happy time. This is my go-to place for me. I love making Reborn dolls. I want it to be relaxed and fun and you know, a pleasure to do, not something you dread because somebody's going to give you some horrible negative comment or something or anything like that. So my advice, if you're going to have a channel, is anybody that wants to invade your head for free like that, just get rid of them. Because, yeah, they're a follower. I get that, and you need all your followers and stuff, but don't you need your sanity too? I had to learn that really hard. I felt really guilty about blocking her. And I recently had to block another person. Not for the exact same reason, but it was almost. It was almost the same reason. This person was also invading a space in my brain that they didn't belong in. This person was extremely negative. Almost everything I did was met with extreme negative comments that made me feel bad. And I was going, okay, I tried to be nice. I tried to, you know, come back with something nice and be super nice to this person. And it just wasn't working. This person would tell me I was doing everything all wrong. No, don't do that. Do this instead. You know, they weren't even helpful about the way they presented it. You know, YouTube actually says, remember to be kind and respectful in your comments. You know, you don't have to like my work, but you don't have to be negative and mean about the way you're going to say, I don't like your work, you know. You can say, you know, when I reborn dolls, I sometimes do this because I find it easier. I mean, that's a nice way to say it instead of, oh, don't do that. That's the wrong thing to do. Just don't do that. And I mean, that's no way to talk to a person, you know. Oh, and when other people would give me suggestions, she'd go, don't do what that person says. They don't know what they're talking about. Do this instead. It was just negative all the time like that. And when I'd have my contest, I can't believe I didn't win. Why didn't I win? I wanted that. Okay, well, you didn't get your name drawn, so I'm sorry, you know. And I try to be extremely fair, extremely fair. And it's just, I don't know if you get what I'm talking about. It's just like nothing's good enough. Oh, don't get that kit. That's not a good kit. Or, you know, I'd talk about a kit I wanted to get. No, no, don't get that kit. Get this one instead. Okay, I can make my own mind up, but I don't need that kind of grief. You know, somebody constantly putting you down for decisions you make. And she even admitted she was a brand new artist. I'm not a brand new artist. I'm going to say I have plenty of room for improvement. I'm going to go on and do some enhancements on Aspen's face. This is supposed to be a tutorial, not a complaining video. I'm going to put a little blue across her forehead because blue on your doll indicates thin skin or an area that you want to darken or put a shadowy effect on. So I'm going to put a little blue across her forehead because if you notice on babies, they have areas where they do have a little bit of bluish color to their skin and you can see it a bit. So I want to give her that. It's just very light. And you notice I didn't dip this brush at all in any paint because I'm using a technique I like to refer to as dry painting. And I sort of came up with this on my own. I didn't get it from any other artist. I invented it myself. It was accidental. I just wanted to touch up a doll one time and I had put my brushes up without washing them. So I was thinking, I wonder if there's any paint in that brush at all. Can I dab some on this little spot and touch up this doll? And it worked. So I said, oh, wow, that worked. And not only did it worked fabulously. I think I'm going to keep doing that. So now I don't even wash my brushes. I dip them, wipe off all the paint you can wipe off, and just put them up in a thing where they're in this position and let them dry. And it only works with heat set. It will not work with air dry. So if you're air dry, it won't work for you. But I have put some on her forehead here. You should not be able to see it. You seeing the blue is an indication I did it wrong. Now I'm also going to give her a vein. I vein with a pencil as well. Now you don't need a sharp pencil for this. Veins are not supposed to be super sharp and skinny. If you look at your hand, you can see the vein in your hand. It's blue. You can see it real good. You also can see, if you'll look, that it's not completely solid. You'll see some vein. Then there might be a little skip where the vein is deeper in your skin, and then it might pick up over here. I'm not saying make skippy veins on your doll by any means. You put the veins the way you want to put them. But you can see that you don't see it continuously all the time. Some veins are more prominent than others, but just look at your hands and you can see the veins. And if you ever noticed in your babies or a friend's babies or whatever, they have a vein that comes out on their forehead. And when they cry a really lot, it really sticks out a whole lot. So I like to mimic that vein. Like I said, we're looking for an illusion that this is a real baby. It's never going to be a real baby. We need to wrap our heads around that. A lot of people think, oh no, I have to have immense amounts of realism. You can actually put too much realism in your doll and it turns a corner where it no longer looks real. It's starting to look fake again. Too much realism is a bad thing. That's just my opinion. But I know a lot of people are going, how do you get too much realism? Well, you actually can. You know, some people want to put baby acne. They want to put a baby scratch. They want to put the lip blister. I mean, everything a baby could possibly have on them. No one baby has that much stuff on them. They want to put a birthmark, and they're just modeled up to the point where they look like a space alien or something, or like they have ringworm. They're just extremely overly painted. And I do a simpler way. So you won't much see me model on a regular baby doll like this because, yes, babies get modeling. They sure do. Is that something you want to capture? Because I think it's ugly. My babies got modeled when they were cold or something, but I didn't grab a camera and take a picture of them because they were modeled up. I didn't want to immortalize that in my child. And I don't want to in my doll either. Yes, it can be real looking. But like I said, they're not always modeled. And do you really want that look on your doll? You have to decide. That's strictly a preference. If you do, you're going to get a sponge that has a pattern on it. Let me see if I can find one. Yeah, you're going to pattern up a sponge yourself. You're going to take a sponge and you're going to just take your tweezers and pick some holes in it until you have a rough looking pattern like that on it. And then you're going to paint all over your doll with that, and you're going to get the modeled look. And you can use whatever colors you want. People use multitudes of colors. They use red, they use purple, they use blue, they use yellow, they use green. I've even seen people use orange. Why? Why would you put green or orange on your doll? There is no green or orange on a baby. Ever. Never. But anyway, they do it. But anyway, long story short, we're going to give her a vein. Now, veins need to be squiggly. They're not straight. Most people make Y patterns, but you don't want a straight Y like that. You want to make a squiggly one like this, because veins are squiggly. Think of a river. It's not straight. It might look straight right where you're standing, but if you look at it on a map, a real map, you know, the old-timey maps, you had to get out and turn the pages when you were traveling. I used to be the map reader in the family. My husband would drive and go, okay, where do I turn? And anyway, looking at the map, you see the rivers are indicated in blue, and they're very squiggly. Think of a river. You want it to be squiggly like a river. So anyway, you can put them anywhere on the doll, really anywhere. But I don't like to do a lot to the face. I want the face to be very, very pretty. I'm going to show you Frankie. He's finished. And you'll notice, well, you can't see it probably, but he has a vein up here. But you're not going to see a vein on his face, because I like to keep the face a little cleaner and prettier. And he's blushed up, and he just, to me, he looks good. And this is the way I want my baby to look. You don't see any modeling on him. He's not modeled. He's going to get hair, but he doesn't have it yet. Otherwise, he's finished. All he needs to be is put together. But I have him over here waiting for hair. So I'm going to put a vein now on Aspen. Now, veins can be anywhere you really want, as long as you want, as short as you want, as elaborate as you want. They can have as many branches as you want, or no branches at all. They can just be a squiggly line. One of the best rules about veins is to make them squiggly. And you can pull out anatomy charts and see where you think they go or whatever. I just put them where I think they're going to look good. I want the person who buys this doll to see the veins. So I don't try to put them in places where they're not going to show. I want to put them in places where they're going to be dressing the baby or something. They're going to go, oh, it has a vein. It's so cute. You know, I'm looking for cute mostly in my dolls. Also a little bit of realism. So anyway, I'm going to start up here on her head, because I'm going to give her hair, and I want to make sure that I get my squiggle right before I get down close to her face where it's going to show. Now, babies often have veins showing on their temple areas over here, and there's one that almost comes straight down to their forehead. Just straight down their forehead, kind of. Now, you don't have to do it that way, but that is a way to do it. So I like to do one kind of elaborate vein. I'll start way up here with a squiggle, and I'll just go over to this part of the face over here. And then I'll also go all the way over here to this part of the face over here, and just put a vein. And then I'll also bring one down kind of to the front like that. Now, if you can see that at all, it's too dark. I don't know if you can even see it. But I'm going to take this sponge. This is what we call an undertone. What we're doing now, I call them enhancements, but most people call them undertones. We have not put any paint on this doll, really. Doing dry painting, I don't even count that. I count that as an undertone. I want to brush these. I'm going to do it with this sponge. They need to look like they're under the skin, not prominently popping out on the skin. You don't want them to show that much. You want them to be subtle. A lot of what you do to your doll is about being subtle. Little tiny subtle things are better than bold things. The enhancements that you give your doll matter. And if you like the enhancement, you're going to want to do it on your doll. You shouldn't be able to see that now. And it will get somewhat lighter when it bakes. When you're doing heat set, one of the rules is everything gets lighter when it bakes. I'm also going to give her some eyebrows. Now, you can root eyebrows, but I pencil them because I'm no good at rooting them. And on top of that, if I want to root them, I'm going to want a line to follow. So I'm going to put some pencils on eyebrows. And when you're doing eyebrows, you may need to go to the mirror to do this. I always advise people to go to the mirror because you're looking for the brow bone. You can feel on your head or look in the mirror and see your brow bone and gauge where's my eyebrow in relation to my brow bone. You're going to find it that the eyebrow is slightly above the brow bone. The very bottom of the eyebrow should be almost touching the brow bone. Here's her brow bone right here. It's this prominent little sticking out area right here. Some dolls do not have a well-defined brow bone and you have to guess at it. But if you can find the brow bone, you can make a pretty good eyebrow just with a pencil. Now, once again, you don't need a super sharp pencil. See, this one's not super sharp, but you don't want it as dull as this blue pencil either. And you don't want it as sharp as this red pencil either. Somewhere in between. Okay? So I'm just going to sketch on a wispy little line pretty much. Just a line. And I don't know if you can even see it. It's very light and feathery looking. To me, that's a baby's eyebrow. Because if you look at a real baby, yes, if you get really close and really are examining the eyebrow like this, you can tell there's individual hairs. But if you're just glancing down at the baby, you're going to see something so soft and wispy and tiny and thin that it's just almost not even there. Just not even having eyebrows would be okay, I think. But I do put eyebrows because people like them. And now if you'll find that if you're right-handed, doing something over on this side of the doll is going to be much easier than doing something on this side of the doll. So if you're having trouble matching the eyebrow to that eyebrow, turn the head upside down. It gives you a little bit of a better view of exactly where you put the other eyebrow so you can do it again over here. Will they be exact? No. But once again, how much of a baby is really that symmetrical? If you really, really look at a baby, I've often heard just in daily life, it has nothing to do with reborning dolls, that people are not that symmetrical. What makes a person, I read this, what makes a person appear beautiful is that they have a much more symmetrical face than other people. But not that many people are actually beautiful. I estimate about 10% of the world is beautiful. 10% is really ugly and everybody else is just average. And most of us are just average and we're not going to be that symmetrical. So you don't have to be exact. I mean, you can be. But you're going to cause yourself a lot of grief trying to make everything exact. It's just not going to work out for you. And anyway, so now she's got blue on her forehead. She's got her vein. And she's got eyebrows. So the next thing I really want to do to her is put some pinkish color on her face. We don't want her to be pale, you know, and she is. But if we start rosying up her face, it's going to make the rest of the background of her face super pale looking. I used to do that to my dolls. I just put some rosy on their cheeks, a little on their nose and their ears, and let it go. And then I started noticing that all the rest of these parts of the face were just extremely pale. And so I thought, I should have done something to that because the contrast is too great, if you know what I mean. So what I do is, this is another dry brush that I dipped in the red. Now, I just want to tell you, we are not putting pink on our doll anywhere. Pink does not go on your doll. You might want a pink color on your doll, but you don't use pink paint. If you use pink paint, you're going to get Barbie. This is the color I'm using right here. It's a bloody red. Now, if you're air dry, you're going to take your warm red or your cool red, and you're going to mix it up, and it's going to look pink, but it is not pink. If you actually mix up pink, you're going to have this color right here. This color right here. Do you want that color in your doll, really? Because the answer should be no. Plenty of people do it, though, because they think, I want pink lips. I don't want deep red lips. But what they're failing to understand is it looks pinkish because it's light red. Not because you put white in it and it's actually pink. Pink is this pacifier. Do you want that color on your doll? The answer should be no. Red is the color you want. So anyway, I'm going to just lightly brush this from her eyes down. I'm just going to brush it across her face like this. And it's going to look a little harsh as I'm brushing it because I have to brush hard enough to get it in every little crevice. You don't want to leave, when you're doing this background color, you don't want to leave any, another message, any spots that you're not coloring. You don't want that because it's going to stand out like a sore thumb when you're finished. So you have to kind of brush hard to get it on there, and then we're going to soften it up with our sponge and make it look pinkish. We don't want her this red. This is way, way too red. But it's going to go on that way because, well, this is dry paint. It's more concentrated, but it's cleaner. The advantages to dry paint is it's super easy to do. No running, no guessing if I got enough paint on the brush or anything like that. You're just brushing it on like this. And it's super clean. There's no stuff pooling up in the crevices or anything like that. Now I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to just dab it. And see, some of it is coming off. Don't worry, you're not going to take too much off. We want it very pale and very soft pink. And in fact, you can pound it like this. It won't hurt your doll a bit to pound it. And if you're not getting enough of a feathering effect or something, rubbing can help, but I don't recommend you rub with a sponge. Instead, have a kabuki. Kabukis are not good for anything else but this. This is a cheap kabuki I got from Walmart. You don't need an expensive kabuki from a doll site. So here we go. We're going to just rub it in a little circular motion, very lightly. Hard rubbing will take the paint completely off of her. And then you'll have to start over from square one again. You can feather it out. We want it to be pink, 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 lighter, 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 gone. We don't want a hard stop. We don't want pink, nothing. We don't want that. We want it to feather out and be softer and softer as it makes its way to the edges. And I do it from the eyes down like that. Now you can do it above the eyes too. It's not wrong. There is really no wrong way to paint your doll. It's what you like. But I think this looks very natural. And then I just give her a little bit of a color up on her forehead. Now you don't want to do this when your blue's still wet. But she is laid on the table while we were talking for a good while and she's dry now. So I'm going to pound this as well because we want it soft as well. I just do this. I started doing this when I first started making dolls to have a signature mark on my doll. Now they're calling it a stork bite. When I first started doing this, I never even heard of a stork bite. I'm not claiming a stork bite. I'm just claiming that's something I do to all my dolls. And I always put it off center over to one side so it looks a little more natural than it would if you put it straight in the middle or covered the entire forehead. But now it's your art. You can cover the entire forehead if you want to. But the blue shows through a little bit and then it shows around the edges. And it looks awesome to me. Now the only other thing we can do to her right now on her face is pink her ears and do her lips. So I'm going to put a little bit of, I do pink ears because I think they're cute. There's no other reason. Yes, my son and daughter-in-law, who have grown children, by the way, their youngest was 13. I just adopted a baby like a year or two ago. And I spent a lot of time looking at her because it's been such a long time since I saw a newborn baby. Well, I've seen them, but, I haven't really looked at them. You don't just go around staring at other people's babies, But she's my granddaughter, so I took a little time and stared at her. And incidentally, I have a 2-year-old granddaughter, and I have a granddaughter that's getting married in May. My oldest grandchild and my youngest grandchild. And they all of my grandchildren belong to one of my sons. The other one doesn't have any children. And they have 7 children. And yeah, 7. It's insane, isn't it? They're insane people. I stopped at 2 children, but anyway, times were tough. And they are professional people. They have good jobs. She's a nurse, and my son is a police officer in Memphis, Tennessee, and they pay high there because the crime rate is so high there. But I'm super proud of my son. He started out as soon as he could work. He got a work permit so he could go to work when he was too young to work. He wanted to work. He would have worked before that, but nobody would take him because he was too young. But he went through, I don't know what you have to do, but he did it. and he got himself a work permit, and I'm super proud of him. He's been working ever since. He was still in high school, and he was working, and after that, he tried and tried to continually better himself. He started out with a menial job in a grocery store, putting groceries in a bag for customers. Okay. I'm getting messages from people. I guess I should see what they are. Uh, I have a doll that I ordered, and now she's sending me messages about it. I don't know why. Maybe she's going to say she doesn't have it anymore. I don't know. What does it say? Oh, she's already posted it. Wow, I just bought it a few minutes ago, and she's already got it in the mail. Okay. Let me just tell her, okay, thank you. She got that doll posted fast. I bought it like an hour ago, and now it's already in the mail. Anyway, okay, so we've pinked her ears, but they're too dark as well. So I'm going to dab them also as well. Now, it's a little harder to dab the ears because there's so many crevices in it. So we're going to be using a swab for that. Swabs are one of your invaluable reborning aids because they get down in a lot of these little cracks and crevices where the paint would just be too harsh and bold and ugly if you didn't get to dab it. And if you can't dab it with your sponge, then you're going to need to find an alternate way to dab it. And sometimes it's a swab. I also have this paintbrush over here at the side that I find is super valuable. Now, this was a highly expensive paintbrush. It's an Ultimate Fusion brush. It's flat and it has stiff bristles. You don't have to use an expensive one. This is a flat, stiff bristle brush, and it was very cheap, but it does the job also. But it's been dipped in paint, so I can't use it. But this one's clean, and you can use it to dab down in here, and it will pull out some of that paint also as well. And I call it my magic brush. When I talk about my magic brush, I'm talking about this brush right here. Because to me, it seems like it does something that nothing else will do. When all other hope has failed, use your magic brush. That's what I say. So now her face is pre-colored. So we will get her a bake, and when she comes out, her face will be much lighter. You're going to say, oh, wow, most of that went away. That's fine, because this is her pre-coloring. Well, she's going to get another round of enhancements unless we just super like the way her face looks when she comes out. Now, the last thing I'm going to do to her is her nails and her lips. I use this color right here. It's, once again, the same color that I just put on her face, only it's thicker. It's made thicker because I put it in thinning medium instead of paint thinner. I also have a video that explains how to mix your paint. I will tie it to this series as well. But this paint is much, much thicker, and it will stay in place much, much better. But that doesn't mean we want to just slather it on there. We want a tiny, tiny, super, super, super thin layer. And yes, we already brushed her lips with the paintbrush. That's because it is too hard, in my opinion, and this is only just my opinion, to skip the nails and lips when you're painting. Now, we're going to put the thinnest coat we can possibly get on her. And we're going to follow her lip line absolutely to the letter. And I'm taking off my glasses to do this because I can see better without them for up-close things like this. Anyway, the value of extremely thin paint layers here is it's super clean. You notice me dabbing, you will notice anyway. I'll dab with a sponge almost every single coat of paint that I ever put on this doll. But we can't dab the lips and the nails or we won't have any paint at all. This paint will come right off. And if you don't dab your paint, what you get is a rashy, ugly paint job. So to avoid that on the lips, we are putting the most ultra thin layer you ever saw in your life on here. We are just getting some paint on her lips. And if she comes out of the oven and you can't even tell she has paint on her lips at all, it's fine. Because we have plenty time to build up these lips. And building them up makes the best lips. So every coat that we put on her, we're going to work on her lips and her nails. We're going to take our time and do a fantastic, smooth, even coat on her. Beautiful lips and nails can make or break your doll. If you don't have them, your doll is going to look much less. If you do have them, they're going to look much better. So ultra thin, doesn't matter if it shows or not. You'll be able to see it somewhat, even if it's very, very, very vague. And the importance of following the lip line, I cannot stress that enough. Plenty of people go out of the lip line. They want fuller lips, or they fall short the lip line because they want thinner lips. It is a fatal flaw. It is a fatal mistake. You will not like your doll if you go out of the lip line. I've done it plenty of times accidentally, and plenty of times when I was a brand new artist and I go, I'm just not painting those lips like that. I'd say that to myself. That looks funny and I'm not going to do it. And then later, when you're painting the doll for real, you're going, now it looks funny. I should have stayed in the lip line. I should have not done it this way. But there is an actual lip line that you can see, and you'll never see it better than you see it right now when there's no paint on your doll. It's very vague, and you have to look very close to even be able to see it at all. But if you don't do it now, on this very first coat, you won't see it. You may see parts of it. You may see it for a coat or two, but then it's going to disappear at some point and you won't see it anymore. So it's ultimately important, this first layer of lip color. It's the most super important layer you're going to put on your doll, on the lips, that is. And once you get it right, the next time you can follow the color. It may be super vague, but you can still follow it. Now, if you ever notice a baby, they have this puffy thing under their lip. That is not part of the lip. Some people paint that and it looks odd. Just stay in the lip area. And we want to smooth out all these wrinkles. They have little creases in their lips. We do not want to enhance those. They make them look like they have super chapped lips, like you left them in the sun too long. I think those are pretty lips. I don't know. You tell me. Now, some people put a little extra red around the eyes, and you can do that. I don't particularly do it because, I don't know, I don't think it's necessary. I don't like to do things that I don't think are necessary because it's just extra steps for no reason. In order to make a pretty baby, you don't have to do that, so I'm not going to do it. But you can. There's no wrong or right way to make your baby. You're really making it the way you want to. But I'm showing you a way to make a nice baby on your very first doll. I always advise people not to blindly follow anyone, and that means me too. You might not like what I'm doing, so I always advise people, watch the entire series first. See how that baby comes out at the end after you've seen all the procedures that person did. If you don't like the procedures they're doing, or you think they're too hard or too ridiculous to do, you're not going to get the same result they got anyway. So, I mean, you might want to see what they're doing to the doll before you do it. I was blindly following this woman one time, and she did some, I had to stop. Because she started doing all these ridiculous things to her doll that I'm going, I am not putting that on my doll. She kept saying, trust the process. There are a few times you need to trust the process, but heck no. Don't trust the process. If it looks bizarre to you, it probably is bizarre. And that's all I can say about it because, you know, people do follow people like that. And it's nothing wrong with if you want to make your baby like that. All I always say, is this the look you're trying to get? Is that what you want to do to your doll? And people are always going in those baby groups. I'm subscribed to a lot of those baby groups. And they're saying, this is where we're at now in this baby. Does she look good? And I always answer this. Do you think she looks good? Because if you do, what are you asking other people for? If you think she looks good, then she's good. If you think she's ugly, then she's ugly. It's more about what you think than anybody else. The only time I ask is if I'm in so totally brand new territory and I'm going, is this normal for it to look like this at this stage? What's the next thing I need to do? Like I was trying to make an ethnic baby, which I can't do really. But I was asking my viewers, okay, all y'all people who make ethnic babies, is this the way she's supposed to look? You know, do I need to put more dark colors on it, or do I need to put a certain other color on her to darken her up a little bit? Because I wasn't achieving the dark color that I want. If you have too much on your brush, just wipe it on your paper towel like that. We want super, super light on the nails as well. And you want to make it as smooth as possible. You don't want any pooling down by the where the nail comes out of the skin there. That's going to look ugly. It's going to look dirty and funny. And we want the nails to look very nice. So we're putting it on very carefully. Once again, everything's going to get lighter when it bakes. So the color you're seeing is not even the color you're going to have when it comes out of the oven. As soon as I put this aspen back in the oven to bake, I'm going to get the other aspen out of the oven and we'll crease and do her. We'll do some steps at the same time, but this one takes about the longest. Actually, putting a layer of paint on your doll doesn't really take that long. So I can do two in almost the exact same time I do one. As a matter of fact, in the past, I was having some trouble getting my videos to upload in any sort of a timely fashion. So I was, I didn't do as much online stuff as I do now. But I sometimes make two dolls at the same time anyway, because there's a lot of downtime while you're waiting for the baking and the cooling. And so I would be working on another doll, but I wouldn't record it because, well, it was taking too long to download my videos anyway, and that was just going to add more time to it. So I'd call the other one my background baby. And so I'd work on one on camera and one in the background. And now I'm doing them together online because I can upload much faster. We got our internet changed to another company that was faster. It turns out in our area, AT&T does not offer all the plans they offer in other places because we live in a super small rural town and they have different speeds of internet and they only offer here the very lowest internet that they have. The very lowest speed is all you can get here. And it was just too slow and it wasn't uploading in any sort of a fashion that would, I have to see what that is. My brother's expecting an order, and if they're on the way with his order, I need to tell him. I have to make his orders for him because he can't do it. Yes, I'm going to tell him it's coming. Just take me a minute to send him a text. He calls me when he wants to order something. I place the order and have it sent to his house because he can't do it. And he can't seem to make it work on his phone for some reason. He doesn't really know what the problem is, but it won't go through. So he says, can you make my order for me? Sure, no problem. And then I get the messages that his order's on the way. And he lives with my son, my unmarried son that doesn't have any children. And they're both alcoholics, so they do very well together. So anyway, the house is pretty big, and he doesn't hear them pull up outside, and so he doesn't know they're out there. And they won't get out of the car to bring the groceries to the porch because of the dogs. They're afraid of them, and so I have to tell him, oh, it's on the way, so he can be watching for him. And so that's why I had to shoot out a message to him real quick. My coffee is now cold. But that's okay. I like cold coffee. Okay, Aspen is now ready to go in the oven. There's no more we can do to her at this stage because it will wipe off her creases. So we're going to give her a bake. So everything will become permanent that's on her now. So if you don't like what you've done, don't bake. This tutorial is mostly for heat set artists. Now, I'm not saying air dry can't get nothing. I have lots of followers that are air dry that follow me and use a lot of my tips because some of them are transferable over to air dry and some of them are not. And they pretty much understand which ones are not because they're air dry artists already, you know. And like I said, you can't do dry painting with air dry because the paintbrushes just actually really do just dry, and they're just dry because it's water based. This is oil based, so the paint stays kind of, I mean, it is dry though. You're not going to get paint on your hand if you do that, but yet it still will paint on your doll. I don't know how that works. It's just magic or something. But anyway, I'm going to get this aspen in. I'm going to get the other aspen out. And we're going to get her started with her creases and stuff. This is the longest step, I guess you'd call it. It takes the most time because you're creasing, you're doing nails and lips, you're doing veins, you're doing eyebrows, you're just doing so many things in one step. But there's a limit to the number of steps you can do without messing up what you've already done. So we're stopping now for that reason to bake her. When she comes back out, her creases will be permanent, and then we can work on her hands and feet and stuff a little bit more. So when we come back, we'll have the other aspen, the sleeping one, and we'll do a little bit of work on her. So I'm going to ask that you please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and drop me a comment. Tell me how you're liking Aspen. Well, Leaf's going to be in here too. He's coming today. He will be delivered at any moment, and I will be able to seal him. He will still have to sit on the shelf over here on the drying rack for a couple hours before he can bake because the sealer's very gooey, and he'll stick to the liner on my oven if I don't let him dry a bit. I have been planning in the past to try the heat gun to dry them off a little quicker so they can go on and go in the oven quicker. But I just haven't done it because most of the time I seal ahead of time, and they have plenty of time to sit on the drying rack anyway without having to worry about that I'm going to put them in the oven too soon, you know. But nonetheless, I do want to try to, I cut every corner I can if it doesn't matter. Some things don't matter. And if you can cut a corner where it doesn't matter, that's great. But you don't want to cut the corners that do matter. Some of them do matter. So, yeah. I cut expenses to the bare bone where it doesn't matter. And I walk you through all that stuff. Just follow my videos and you'll see what I'm talking about. I'll tell you ways to save money. I'll tell you ways to do some steps a little easier. I'll tell you everything. I just can't just spit it all out in one video, though. It's a progression of time when I'm going, oh, yeah, you can do this instead of that other thing, you know. And you'll pick up that tip. And all through the series, you'll see little tips on the Aspen Leaf series. And then on other series, too, you can go back and watch any of my series that I've already posted. And they're all helpful. And some different, more obscure or harder techniques are brought up from time to time in different series. So it is beneficial to watch a person's entire, I don't want to say watch 500 videos. I'm not saying that. But if you go back in your spare time when you don't really have, I like to watch videos when I'm rooting. And I do recommend that you root right from the beginning because you're practicing on dolls to paint, you might as well use the same dolls to practice rooting. Rooting isn't as hard as you think it is. It's much easier than you think. It's a lot of it has to do with the way you hold your needle, the way you turn the head, stuff like that. You don't have to take all those extremely hard techniques that other people use to root. I don't know why people go about things the harder way. I always I don't know if I just have an analytical mind or what it is. I don't know what it is, but all through my life, I was always trying to find easier ways to do things. I just nearly drove my boss crazy at work. I'd always be, they put up a suggestion box and, oh, Karen put suggestions in it. You know, if you do this instead, it's much quicker and it's much easier. And after a while, they took down the, they took down the suggestion box. I think it's because I put so freaking many suggestions in there. Why don't you do this instead of that? And one of the things they were not doing, I worked at a grocery store, and one of the things they were not doing, they weren't even aware of it. I caught it myself and I put it in the suggestion box. They did do that. When you use a coupon at the store, they're supposed to collect the tax on the full price of the item before the coupon is taken off. The coupon is supposed to work like a method of payment, not a reduction in the price of the item. And they were charging, say an item was $1.50 and the coupon was 20 cents. Instead of charging tax on $1.50 like they were supposed to, they were charging tax on $1.30 because the coupon came off. And therefore, when it got time for the store to pay their taxes, they had to foot that other 20 cents. And you just imagine how many coupons in, say, a month a big grocery store is going to take in. It's hundreds and hundreds of dollars, hundreds and hundreds. And if they're not collecting that tax, they're having to pay it themselves. And I pointed that out to them. You know, this should really be tax on $1. I worked in the office, so I saw all those figures because I did the bookwork. I saw the figure. Oh, the tax is not coming. They're not charging tax on the whole $1.50. They're only charging on the $1.30. That means they have to foot the tax on the additional 20 cents. One customer might have $10 worth of coupons. Literally, people were using coupons like crazy. And that's $10 that they have to pay tax on themselves. And they're losing money by doing that. And we had profit sharing. If we made a profit that quarter, we'd get a little profit sharing check. And the more profit you get, the more profit sharing you get. So I was looking out for those profits. So I pointed it out to them. Hey, you know what? Blah, 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 you know. And they did change that. They changed that because it was costing them money. But a lot of the suggestions I gave them on saving time and doing something simpler, they just simply didn't want to entertain it. And they just eventually took down the suggestion box. Now, they did do some of the things. I'm not going to say they never listened to one of my suggestions because they did, but I just put too many in there, I think. I think I overwhelmed them because that was just part of my character, I think. I'm always looking for an easier way to do something. I watched many videos before I started painting where people have those paint palettes with the little wells in it and they're throwing out the paint at the end. So what did I do? I went out and got jars to put my paint in. So I'm not throwing out my paint. I'm saving it and using it again. I'm too cheap to do that. That's another thing. I'm very frugal. So I'm going to be showing you ways. Some things are worth spending the money on, and some things are not. And I'm going to be telling you those things too, like this is really valuable to do. I know it seems wasteful, but this is the reason things like that. And other things I'll be going, don't buy this. You can get this, you can use this empty one you already have. You know, it's free. You know, free things speak, I know, but some things are just too hard to get ready to use. Here's an example. This is how you get your Eileen's paper glaze. We'll go over how that's used later. But when it's empty, I was washing them out to put my Exodus oil in. But if it falls over, it leaks. So I bought this at the Dollar Tree to use instead. It's going to be worth it to me. It's the same size ounces and everything, but this one doesn't leak when it falls over. So to me, that's worth it. You get two of these for $1.25 at the Dollar Tree. That's plenty cheap. But this was free. So you can use this if you don't have the money for this. But be warned, if you put your Exodus oil in this and it turns over, it's going to spill. Not much. It's not going to just run out. You'll just get a little residue on your table. But I didn't like that because I'm always cleaning up that area. So this has a twist down lid, so it's not going to leak. Just a tip. That's one of my tips. And, you know, it is what it is. You can use either one. And there's a lot of money-saving techniques you can get. Like this is a reused bottle. This is a reused jar rather. I cleaned it out after I emptied it so I could mix my nail color in it. And I have these other two reused jars. that had colors of paint in them. This is my scratch medium, and this is the nail tip. So I wanted to mix those up too and have it ready so I could use it when I needed it and not have to mix it fresh every time. So I cleaned out. This had a brownish color in it. You can tell by the stains on the lid. But I cleaned them out real good. Usually these little glass jars are much easier to clean than these plastic ones. So these are valuable when you don't need a lot of a color. I've been using the scratch medium ever since I've been making scratches. It's the only one I've ever mixed up, and it lasts forever. And the same thing with the nail tip. I haven't always tipped nails, but I've tipped quite a number of them recently. So I've never had to mix any extra. But they last a long. I've been using this for more than a year. More than a year. It's just lip and nail stuff. But it was full, and it's half now. But your stuff doesn't just run out as quick as you might think it does. Depends on how many dolls you're going to make and how close together you're going to make them. It's all going to depend on when you need to restock your supplies. And you won't need to restock everything at the same time, most likely. And you're going to wait for a sale. We're going to go over all that as we move along. I wait for sales for everything. I don't want to pay regular price for anything. Some things you have to because you just need it right now. But if I don't need it right now, I'm waiting for a sale. That's what I'm doing. But anyway, I've turned this video into an hour and 25 minutes. So please remember to like, subscribe, and share. And we'll be back with the other Aspen in a few minutes. And happy reborning.